and way down we go, 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 way down we go, go.
Hello, everybody. This is Mohan Simam. You're listening to Into the Chaos podcast. Entrepreneurship is a lonely journey. Mental health and the struggles around an early stage entrepreneur are least discussed. In this ultra casual podcast, I hope to bring more awareness about the not so spoken about aspects of an entrepreneur's life, the drama, the struggles, the problem they are solving, their core values, and their accomplishments. Thank you for tuning in and hope you enjoy it.
Whoa, you let your feet run wild. Time has come as we all.
Thanks for doing this, bro.
Sure,
This is
happy to do it.
this is the first podcast, and we do have a lot of insightful conversation earlier. Like you have opened up a lot of thought
Yeah,
exercises inside me that made me feel a little bit more comfortable around certain ideas. Um,
sure.
yeah, so tell the listeners about yourself, uh, about your journey. Um, where you're from, what have you done so far, what are you trying to do now?
Sure. So my name is Anand Sukumaran. Um, I'm from Tamil Nadu, India. I think I did my college in Tamil Nadu, and then I worked for a bank for 4 years, and then I did MBA in Europe, and then I came back. I started to start up somewhere in 2012. And from then, I co-founded two startups from 2013 to 2017. Um, After that, I worked with the supply chain tech startup as head of marketing for the last 2.5 years. I just quit 2-3 months back. I'm planning to start something new. I'm working on ideas, new ideas, validating those ideas, talking to people, networking. So that's what I've been doing for last couple of months.
We actually met during your Zerocode times, right? When we were
Yeah,
this gang of
yeah,
startups were working together, Proven Logic.
in Bangalore. Yeah,
Yeah. It was fun times. That's like 2014, and that's the kind of time when the whole startup vibe kind of started to grow exponentially in Bangalore. Before that, startup was like a kind of a thing, new thing coming in. A lot of people started to
yeah,
realize. But 2014-15 is when things got out of control. When unicorns start get built out of Koramangala and HSR, right? It's a crazy time
right.
than when we met. So
Yeah,
tell
maybe
us
not
more about
HSR back then, but
yeah. Tell us more about
yeah,
Zerocode. What did it do, and for the listeners.
sure. So before Zerocode, I wanted to build like a marketplace for supermarkets, like more like Instacart or like present day Grofers or Dunzo, trying to connect with the supermarkets. So I mean, there were some practical difficulties. I mean, that's the reason I dropped that idea. So Zerocode was an idea inside that idea. So it was an idea to share the location uh, between the customers and the supermarkets. So the idea is like you can share your location using a code. So now it is much easier to share location because everyone uses Google Maps. But back in 2012 or like before that, people used to like get directions by calling people, right? So if you get a delivery and the guy will call you, and then you have to give directions over phone. So that used to be very like a clumsy, very painful experience. So we thought maybe there is a better way to share this information. So we kind of like built an app where you can share your location, physical location with your delivery guy using a code. So it is like a combination of numbers. It could be a phone number or it could be some random number, and I'm not sure, but I believe this was the first geocoding app for India, I guess. There were few other apps after that, but at the time, this was the only app to share location using a code. Um, so yeah, I mean, the idea was to like partner with food delivery companies,
But like
uh,
this idea
you
failed,
know,
right? When
healthcare
did you
companies.
know? When did you know this idea just failed? Like, okay, so this is no longer gonna work out. When did you know this?
So I mean, I want the idea to fail because I wanted to move on to the next one, but it didn't fail. So the reason I stopped, I kind of like knew that it will fail, so that's why I stopped working on it. The reason I stopped is like this is like somewhere in late 2014, I saw like some companies started using Google Maps inside their own apps. For example, before that, the apps for the delivery guys won't have Google Maps, so they'll get the location of the customer, the address, and then they still have to like go there and then call the customers about getting directions. So when I saw the trend of apps slash startups slash companies uh, embedding Google Maps inside their own apps, I felt there is no need for a third party company like mine to give them the location data of their own customers. So they can collect the location data themselves, right? For example, Swiggy had like a beautiful delivery app. So with Google Maps embedded in it. So I kind of like knew that eventually everyone will have the Google Maps, in their apps. So I felt it might become obsolete. So after a point, I didn't see myself doing it for like more than 5 years or 6 years. We had traction, people using it, but I felt like it might go down anytime. So I just like shut down that project.
How
So
long, I mean,
then I
how
moved
like
on to the next
after
one.
how long did you like how long it took for you to move on? What's the kind of interval you had between the first Zerocode and the second startup, Street Hacker?
I think pretty much no gap, I guess. Immediately we started the next
Wow.
one.
So no burnout,
Uh,
no psychological setbacks, just like immediately rushed into the next one.
Yeah, because like, see, the thing is like we wanted to pivot, and we couldn't pivot because like I didn't see anything in it for me for a long time, for a longer term. So then we kind of like brainstorm and then like try to find another use case. So we found another personal problem that I faced and many of my friends faced. So I partnered with one of my friends from Chennai who also were working on the same, you know, uh, similar problems. So we kind of partnered up and then started working on it. So it kind of like immediately we changed track. So yeah, we didn't have any time in between these two startups.
Okay. But during your, I mean, of course, your second startup also did fail. And did you like, was there a burnout period of burnout, or why did you decide to, get back to work for somebody? Explain a thought process or mental state
Yeah,
at that point of time.
right. So the second startup was like an app to discover restaurants through short videos. So this was my personal problem. I'm being a bachelor, eating out a lot, trying to find a place, like a good place or like a new place to eat, new experience was like very hard to find. I mean, there were apps to find these information, but those have like very old school user experience where like the reviews and long reviews and like the numbers, like the ratings, right? So there were no like immersive experience to find new places. So we thought we will build something like a intersection of Instagram and like a food discovery app. So we started with that, and then eventually we built like a full screen video app. It will look like the present day TikTok meets Yelp or like any other food discovery app, right? So like a full screen videos of food reviews slash people showcasing the restaurants, You get the vibe of the restaurants through those videos. So you can keep swiping those videos and then discover new places to eat. So this is pretty quick in terms of for you to discover a new place instead of like you going through that, that search bar and then filtering restaurants based on cuisine and stuff. So
You're
this is
actually
like,
testing
you
this
get,
on US, isn't it? You went to US, stayed in multiple hacker houses across the Bay Area, and
yeah,
user testing. So, like,
yeah, mostly, yeah, yeah,
how do you feel like when you're building a
yeah.
global B2C startup? What do you think is a major learning in the difference of customer consumption behavior between India and US?
So the reason we picked the Bay Area is because this is 2015, right? So we were making like full screen videos of, like it has to have like good bandwidth. So people in India were not like, accustomed to like, using a lot of bandwidth, mobile bandwidth. Uh, so we thought like, the ideal place would be the US. I mean, you can do the same thing now in India as well. But I mean, this is just our hypothesis. So we thought, if anything goes well there, maybe it will go well in other places as well. And also, the Bay Area is like a very unique place where you kind of like find a lot of homogeneous people at the same time, and it has a very good restaurant density in the world. So it has like around like I think it has one of the highest restaurant density in the world. So we thought that's the place we had to be. Either that or it has to be in New York. So they have somewhere around like 10,000 restaurants in a small square. I forgot the density in units, but yeah, it was very high. Like the New York had like 10,000 restaurants in 1 mile square. I'm not sure. Um, and this had like
Do you think this is
25,000
greater
restaurants for the
than
same area.
Bangalore? Do you think this density is greater than Bangalore? Because if you check out
The
the
density of restaurants, yes.
okay, okay. Hmm.
See, yeah, there is a difference in restaurants in India and the US, right? So you're talking about restaurants where you can dine in. Here, there are a lot of restaurants where there's like different levels of dining experience. There are like takeaway shops, there are like shops where you just like stand and eat, and then there are like complete dining, restaurants. So I'm talking about restaurants of like, where you can dine in. So the Bay Area has like the highest density. I think the SF has the highest density of restaurants for, uh, per square feet area in the world, I guess. So we wanted to go there, and we went there. Yeah, so that's why we went there. We Before we even decided that, we kind of like, did some validation on the idea. We emailed to top users, power users of Foursquare. We somehow like, try to find their emails through Foursquare. I mean, back then, Foursquare had people put their Facebook profile on Foursquare profile, and then if you go to Foursquare, I mean Facebook. Um, so if you email the URL, I mean the Facebook slash, there'll be like a user ID. So if you email the user ID at facebook.com, it will land in their personal email. So we kind of like, I kind of like personally sent 50 emails per day for like yeah, I think probably like a couple of weeks, probably like around 1,000 emails, and we got like very good number of responses. People describing like why they would use it, not just like saying, "Hey, I'm interested,"
So these are
but they
like
described in detail
typical.
about like,
So these are like typical startup growth hacking, finding different ways to bring
yeah,
customer on board.
yeah. I mean, we haven't built the app yet, so we just wanted to get the, the, what do you say, like the feedback, or like, what their thoughts are. So the basic, it's a simple email saying like, hey, we need your thoughts. This is what we are building. We just sent like a GIF file, GIF image of the video of the food, like, people food reviews. So people kind of like responded really well. So we thought maybe we should build it. So we took some time to build it, maybe more than 6 months, I guess. And
Hmm.
then we launched it in the US privately. I mean, through private beta. So we kind of like, use Instagram to find users for this app, because people used to post food videos on Instagram, and Instagram is big on photos, not on videos. So we kind of like thought maybe they can use this platform to share their video experience. So
Mhm.
we used a bot to contact all these Instagram foodies, and then and once they reply, we take over the conversation and then like try to onboard them as a user. So we had like a good number of users creating, like, on an average they were creating like 20 plus videos per month. So personally, if we have to go take those videos, we will have to spend like, let's say, $10 to $20 a meal, or like the food price, right? So we haven't spent anything. So we just like, made those users create those videos. Occasionally we also post out videos, but they posted better videos than us. So it went well, I think. Um, the reason it was not failing, so the reason it kind of like, I stopped working on it is because mainly I kind of like, I had some personal issues with my personal stuff. So I couldn't cope up both at the same time, and I was bootstrapping, so I was not able to like, hire new people or like pay the people who were already on the team. And I
That's
didn't
like
have
a
enough.
typical.
Uh,
This is like one of the major reasons,
yeah,
major roadblocks
yeah,
for an entrepreneur, right? So I'm gonna switch gears.
yeah.
You
So
briefly got like briefly after some time you just got married. Tell me about that decision.
yeah.
So when you're on like a serial line of trying to test out multiple startup ideas and hypotheses, suddenly one day you told me that you got married. Marriage is like a little tricky subject for an entrepreneur. It's kind
Yeah.
of like people, like I speak to a lot of people, right? So it's kind of a little tricky, the whole idea of marriage for an entrepreneur. They're mostly like anxious, they're scared. We used to have this conversation a lot. Tell your take on you know like would you advise, would you recommend entrepreneurs to get married in the midst of their entrepreneurial pursuit? Tell us more about that.
I think marriage is very personal. So, I mean, I'm not anyone to advise anyone on marriage, right? So, I think if you find your right partner, I mean, it's your decision to get married. So, I don't think there is like what do you say, like a like a book on how to get married while you're like, doing startups, right? So it's very personal. I mean, it depends on the person. I mean, I have seen people who are younger than me getting married and having a very good career. So 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 yeah, I mean,
It worked out easy for you because you got arranged marriage. You don't have to
arranged, I
put
mean, it was
all
not
your
entirely arranged.
okay. Okay, tell us more about it.
It is not like typical arranged marriage, like where my parents find the bride for me and then I get married. So it was like me taking the initiatives like to find the bride, because like, so I mean, I kind of like realized this much later, because like, marriage, having a personal life is nothing to do with whatever you do in your work or in your startup, right? You have to separate these two. I mean, whatever you have to do at that age, I think you have to do it. You shouldn't be just like slogging your ass off just that you want to like, make your startup successful, right? You have to like have your life, enjoy your life. I mean, your 20s are not going to come back, your 30s are not going to come back. So you work hard, at the same time you also have your life. So I kind of like separated these two things. So my marriage is nothing to do with my startup. My startup is not going to, influence my decision on marriage. So this is my
You
way of doing things. But that's why I said like,
you actually took
yeah,
a bit of a different strategy when a typical millennial would install uh, Tinder and Bumble, uh, and start dating and spend time and kind of it's a long process, right? But you took a different approach, you know, so I think that is what
even I used Tinder.
Oh,
I
you
mean,
did?
Tinder is
Okay.
not like Tinder was that. Yeah, I use Tinder. I use matrimonial sites.
Okay.
So I mean, for me, it doesn't matter. Like whatever app you use, right? So I mean, if you don't have, um, if you're not living in a space where you meet a lot of new people, and so you may not be able to make new connections, so the chances of you meeting your right partner or like your partner will is like very low when you're like working in a startup or like working alone remotely or whatever, right? So I think you have to use these apps to make new connections, and then more connections you make, and then you kind of like find out what works, what doesn't work, and then you find your I wouldn't say the perfect partner, but I think someone who kind of like is right for you,
See,
right? So
a
yeah,
lot
I
of
mean,
people, a lot of people don't come out on the other side, successfully, right? I mean, I've met a lot of people have been using all these dating, even matrimonial
means
apps for years, 3 years, 4 years, and still nothing
right.
is going on. So there's some kind of a strategical error most of the people doing in that case. So what is the best winning strategy in a pursuit of finding your soulmate and life partner through all these mediums?
I think whatever medium you use, like whatever way you try to find a new connection, is like you have to invest in that relationship, right? Even if they're gonna be your friend, you have to invest. So I cannot like just like meet them for like few times and then decide, hey, this is gonna be my life partner, right? So I think people kind of like try to you know look at the short term benefits versus the long term investment. So you know what I mean by the short term benefits.
No, yeah, I do. I do. We
So
have we have
if you
discussed a
if you
lot in detail about it. So I want you to
so
go a little bit more detail about this, invest in long term versus short term. Why don't you just go and explain a bit more about it?
yeah, I mean if you yeah, I mean if you like someone, I think you have to invest because like let's say if you are in a mood to like date that person, they may not be in a position to date you or meet you, right? So it might take like much longer time than you think that to make the to meet them or date them. So if you meet them, it's not the next meeting is not going to happen immediately, right? So you have to wait. So if you have the patience to wait, the persistence to wait, and then invest in the relationship, you can basically. I mean, it could not be very successful after a point. Maybe that person may not be meeting you at all, but that's the only way you can meet the right kind of people, right? So but if you're thinking about like immediately like meeting a few times and then like figure out everything immediately, that might work well for short term, but if you're thinking about like getting married or like looking for a partner, right, you need to know the person really well. So this takes time. It doesn't take like like one or two meetings, right? So if you have the patience and the what do you say, the courage to wait and invest in the relationships, maybe you might see. Whatever I'm talking about is like in Indian context. So this is totally different if you go to other countries or the US or like any other Western
I'm
country, right?
assuming most of the
So whatever
listeners
I'm
are gonna be
talking,
from India, and especially
so yeah,
starting
so
with
whatever I'm talking might make
yeah.
sense, more sense. Yeah, so it will make more sense for Indian context, right? So I'm not an expert in this topic, so thank you for asking. But my opinion is like invest time, nurture the relationship, and then find out if it works out for you, and separate this with work, because like you don't have to. Because I used to think I had to be very successful to even like thinking about marriage, but I felt like what if I'm not successful until like 50, right? So I kind of like have to compartmentalize my life,
Smart
right?
move.
So this is different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a kid
So
now. You have a kid now.
right. Yeah.
Uh,
So
like, see,
yes.
I mean, again,
Yeah. He is
kids
like
are
two
also
and
again a
a half
pretty
years
tricky
old. Yeah.
subject. Awesome, awesome. Like you used to tell me whenever we meet, I have the best time, quality time, spending time with my kid, and like you just like you play with him for a while. That gives you the maximum happiness, and that kind of relaxes you a bit. Uh, like, would you advocate having kids during your pursuit of entrepreneurship?
Again, this is very personal, right? So it's up to the person to decide whether they want to get married or like have a kid. So we have a kid, and I'm happy with it. So sorry, happy with him. Um, uh, so yeah, I mean, kids definitely brings a lot of joy in your life. There is a book called Ikigai, the Japanese book on like if you're waking up in the morning, you should be having something to wake up for, so that you have like something to work towards it, right? So previously, my motivation to work would be just to make something or like do something and then make it successful. But now I think it's about like so I have a kid, so I have to be an example, right? So I have to make myself worthy enough to be proud, make him proud, right? So that's my ikigai now. I mean, maybe other parents can resonate with this, but this is a feeling maybe you'll only have when you have a kid. So I think having a kid or like the decision to have a kid is totally personal. I mean, again, yeah, definitely they're gonna like um, take your time from your like from your day, right? So you have to spend time with them, and then but yeah, so that's life, right? So
So what are you doing now? You're in a sabbatical,
so
exploring things here and there.
no, I'm not in a sabbatical. So I quit my job from my previous company. So I've been like working on a couple of ideas, validating them, talking to potential users, trying to see if there is a gap or inefficiency that I can solve. So one of the ideas that we have been also talking about. So yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last
Awesome.
couple of months.
Who do you who do you nominate uh, for this podcast? Any of your friends?
I would nominate my friend Karthikeyan Mani. He runs a company called ZenBridge. That's where I worked as head of marketing for last 2.5 years. Yeah, I think he probably I would recommend. I mean, I would nominate him as the next speaker.
Awesome. Bro, I really
Yeah,
admire you. You have actually given me a lot of really deep wisdom. Um, and I'm actually applying them these days in my day-to-day life, and it has made a real change in the perspective of things, the perspective I see the world and stuff like that. And we should do more of this. I think like through your life's pursuit on your entrepreneurial journey, I think we would like keep you on tap on what's going on. Thanks a lot for doing this.
sure, Mohan. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, baby, oh, baby.
This podcast is powered by Amazon Interactive. We are an emerging technology consulting firm. We help startups to innovate and enterprises to transform their business with our world-class inventors, engineers, and consultants. If you think we can help solve your problem or want to refer us to anybody who can benefit with our services, please drop a mail to contact@amazon.com.
Way down we go, 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 go. Way down we go, oh, oh, oh. So way down we go, ooh, ooh. Way down we go.